Ah, what a very pleasant journey. A bite to eat in the restaurant car, a few bottles of Bavarian beer, and a good snooze.
I need to get to Wavelsberg Castle as quickly as possible. I've still got a head start over the Countess, but I'll need it to find the Piri-Reis map before she gets here. The station guard must know the way. Good evening. Excuse me.
Good evening, sir. What brings you here so late in the day?
I'm a tourist, and rather than go to the Olympic Games or visit one of Germany's many outstanding cities with their bars and restaurants and women, I decided to visit the famous Wavelsberg Castle instead. I'm beginning to wonder why, but I'm stuck here now. Do you know the quickest way to get there?
I'm very sorry, sir. Wavelsberg Castle is closed to visitors right now.
You're kidding. No, you're really not, are you? I've endured quite a ride just to come see this bloody thing.
Oh, what a shame. But the castle has been under military control for some weeks now, sir. All of the access routes have been sealed off, and the guards are patrolling the castle surroundings.
Why exactly is that?
I find it better not to ask. Besides, I was only posted to this station a month ago.
This is stupid. What do I do now?
Well, you are not the first person to drop by wanting to visit the castle in the last couple of days. I'd advise you to wait for the next train. There's one going to Paderborn in 2 hours. I'm afraid there's not much you can do here to kill the time. The station building is closed due to renovations, hence why I am standing outside in this awful weather. You could, of course, take a walk to Buren. It's not far away. There's a road leading directly into town from this crossroad. The guest house at the market should be open. You could warm up a bit and wait for the train there.
You know, I think I'll just enjoy some fresh air after the long train journey. Even if it is raining cats and dogs. Is it okay if I wait here?
Of course, sir.
Thanks.
Damn, now what? The castle's right there. There's got to be another way in. I don't envy him at all. He sits in the rain guarding an empty platform at a tiny, deserted station. But then, things aren't a great deal better for me. He can't help me at the moment. Wavelsberg Castle has its own station, but visitors are no longer allowed to visit the castle. This place should look more closely at the needs of its tourists. The station's being renovated, so everyone has to wait on the platform in the cold. Typical. The Piri-Reis map is up there in Wavelsberg Castle. I need to get inside. Unfortunately, the Nazis have sealed off the entire area. The station guard told me that all access routes are blocked, and that patrols are guarding the immediate surroundings. I'll have to find another way up there. An axe. The station guard won't be happy if I remove his firefighting equipment. It's a memorial cross. Seen better days. There are some candles burning on the pedestal in front of it. I'm sure nobody will mind if I take a candle with me. That'll take me to Buren. I need to get to the castle. It's a fizzy sweet dispenser. I need a coin. Some facts on local history. According to this, the castle was built in the 11th century. The text refers to many renovations and extensions, as well as changes in ownership. Hang on a minute. This could be interesting. The mountain under the castle has an old tunnel system. Ore was mined there from the 18th century onwards. The lords of the castle used the passages of the mines as a hiding place or escape route during times of siege. However, the tunnels were closed down just before the war. That means there was once a connection between the mine and the castle. Maybe it still exists. There's a thin steel cable hanging here. Could come in handy. If it doesn't stop raining, this barrel is going to overflow. My hands aren't dirty. No idea. Could be a shed or a garage. It won't open as long as it's chained up. This rusty old chain is keeping the door closed. Impossible. I can't get it off by hand. The sign's covered with a thick layer of moss. I'll try and scratch the moss away. There it is. 2 tools crossed. A hammer and a pickaxe. This is either a mine or the Center for Dyslexic Soviets. That's a handcar. They use it to travel up and down the tracks to change signals and whatnot. Must be a hard job. At least it looks like a downhill start. This rope prevents the handcar from rolling onto the main track. The handcar won't go anywhere as long as it's tied up. It's tied tight. An old carriage sitting on the siding. One of the train's rear lanterns. It's screwed securely to the carriage. A thin steel cable. A burning candle. The Eye of the Dragon. This artifact is supposed to be the secret to finding the second portal key that opens the gates to Shambala. Viewing the Piri Reis map through the eye is said to reveal the key's hidden location. Of course, to do that, I need to find the map. I should be able to burn through the rope. Then the handcar will roll past the platform. That should keep the guard occupied for a moment or two. Then I'll have some peace and quiet to find the entrance to the mine. Let's go.
What the? Stop! Halt!
As long as no one complains, do what you like. It's closed for renovations, apparently.
Can't help but feel I'd look more dashing with a sword.
One powerful blow to this rusty chain should be enough. According to the sign next to the gate, this is the entrance to a mine, and if I understand the text on the info board, these tunnels may have connected up to the castle at one point. It's got to be worth a shot. It's pitch black in there. What if the candle goes out? It's good to get rid of some pent-up aggression every now and again.
The lantern's empty. I'll put the candle in the lantern. A burning lantern.
Christ, it's a bloody maze down here. I've got no choice. It's my only way into the castle. Besides, in my experience, you find the most useful things in the queerest places. Poor guy. Let's hope I don't end up like him. This place is a maze. There's an old dented pot lying here. Ah, the stairs. I hope these stairs lead up to the castle. Or some nice young German girl's bedroom. I think I've ended up in the castle. I never thought this would actually work. Lucky there's no one here. This is some kind of workshop. I suppose it'd be too much to ask to climb out of the mines and run straight into the map. Well, exploring never gets boring. That is what they say, isn't it? A fire's burning. Very cozy. This fire would be comforting, if I wasn't deep behind enemy lines on a life-or-death mission. It's a hand drill. There's a hook here. A threaded hook that's been screwed into the wall. It won't pull out. I might be able to bend it or break it, but I can't pull it out of the beam in one piece. A dusty old curtain. An authentic German nutcracker. I always wanted one of these old-style nutcrackers. A filthy mirror. An old dented pot with a long wooden handle. A hand drill. It's a traditional nutcracker. The lever on the little man's back opens his mouth. Insert nut and close mouth. Ugh! Oh, it's okay. The mirror's just coated with a thick, greasy layer of filth. I thought that was my face for a moment there. Of course. I can just use the nutcracker to unscrew the hook. Why didn't I think of that before? I'll jam the hook into his mouth and then unscrew it like a pair of pliers.
How are you coming along with the inventory?
Nearly finished, Herr Feldwebel. I still need to catalogue the objects from Berlin.
Okay, but it is essential that we finish the inventory today. The remaining exhibits will be arriving from Berlin tomorrow.
Jawohl, Herr Feldwebel.
Did he say inventory? Maybe it says where the Piri Reis map is stored. If only I could get a look over his shoulder. He's working on an inventory. If only I could get a look at it. It might be a nice shortcut to the Piri Reis map. Could save me trawling this castle for the next 3 hours. Probably won't. He's studying a map. As long as he's occupied, I don't really care what he's doing. Mirrors like that reflect light onto the desk they're positioned over. Not much use to him after sunset, but it might let me get a look at those documents, if I wasn't so far away. I better not get any closer. I don't want to push my luck. And I always thought I was the one carrying too much weight. Huh, I joke, but seriously, I ought to get down the gym. I can't lug an entire set of armor around with me for 3 reasons. First, it's dead heavy. Second, it'll make me look silly. And third, this is supposed to be a stealth mission. I'll just take the gauntlets, because they're cool. A boar pelt. Well, it's not Argali, but it'll do. I can hear voices in that direction. Better steer clear. A small wooden table. Moving it would make way too much noise. Tin soldiers. They look pretty old. I'll take some with me as backup, in case I get caught. A candlestick without a candle. So, just a stick then. A huge crack, though by no means a crevasse, thank God. It's a long, thin crack in the wall. Nice view. Nazis. I hate these guys. A tower. It's a tower. A chimney. I can see a few houses down there. That must be the village of Buren the guy at the station mentioned. It's too dark and I'm too far away to make out any details. There's probably a lot fewer people who'd be happy to shoot me on sight down in the village. But what can you do? A telescope mounted on the railing. I see trees. The telescope's pointing toward the forest, and I can't turn it. It seems to have rusted. A large threaded hook. Leather-lined gauntlets, soft on the inside, but with a tough exterior, just like Fenton Paddock. A bristly wild boar pelt. Tin soldiers wearing Prussian uniforms from the last century. A silver candlestick. The telescope's attached with a metal clamp. Maybe I can loosen it with the drill. It's obviously been exposed to the elements, but it still seems to work. That's better. Now I can make out the individual buildings. Some kind of marketplace. Looks like the local pub. Freshly tapped beer and a hot schnitzel. Quite literally, the only things in the entire world that I want right now. The village church. Rubbing a greasy mirror with a greasy animal pelt will only make it, well, greasier. I hope you like your new home, guys. These guys may have to give their lives for their country. Sorry guys, but sacrifice is just an intrinsic part of war. That was quick. They've melted down like butter. Molten tin. I'll pour some of the molten tin into the hollow in the candlestick. An old dented pot. I've poured some molten tin into the round hollow in the candlestick. It's hardening pretty quickly. Actually, I can take it out already. I can probably use the hook to pick out the solidified tin. Ah! It's come out a lovely, smooth, coin-shaped wafer. A smooth, coin-shaped wafer of tin. I think I know how to get to the station. And I've seen all there is to see in the mine. I'll take the quick route. I'll dip the pelt into the water. That should do it. The wet pelt. Not quite there. I need something to dissolve the grease. What do you know? It actually worked. I could make a mint. Get it? Because I'm making money to use in a sweet. You know what? Never mind. 4 fizzy sweets fell out the bottom. These fizzy sweets contain sugar, citric acid, flavouring and colouring. Yum. I'll pour some water into the pot. There's water in the pot. The sweets are dissolving in the water. Now that I've dissolved the fizzy sweets, I've got yellowish, lemonish water. Great. I've soaked the pelt with lemon water. Soaked in lemon water. There, spick and span. The clean mirror. I'll pour some water into the pot.
There's water in the pot.
I think I know the route pretty well now. Nothing interesting left in the mine. I'll head straight up to the castle. I'll screw the hook into the crack. The hook's threaded firmly into the gap.
The clean mirror.
Okay, I'll hang the mirror up here. I can see the mirror above the desk from here, and the documents he's working on. The image is the right way round, but I can't read the writing. It's too far away. It's working. I can make out the documents large as life, but... damn it. They're back to front because of the mirror. I can't read it like this. Praise be the laws of optics. I can make out every word. If the soldier would just move his hand a little to the side, then... perfect. There it is. Exhibit 104C. The Piri Reis map, stored in the crypt in the North Tower. The problem with answers is they always give rise to new questions. Where the devil is the North Tower? The inventory list I saw in the library says that the items the Tula Society is studying, including the Piri Reis map, are located in the castle's North Tower. But which way is north? I need to find out before anyone cottons onto me. According to the inventory list, the Piri Reis map is in the castle's North Tower, but without the sun, I have no idea which direction that is. I need to work it out. I don't have time to waste. The village church. Wait a moment. Churches always point west, don't they? With the altar in the east. The main entrance is facing away from me, so... looking at the church, the two small towers to my left and right must be on the east-west axis, so the North Tower must be on the other side of the castle. But how am I supposed to get all the way over there? I can hear voices in that direction. Better steer clear. I'd need a lot more water. This isn't going to work. A chimney. Believe it or not, I can't reach it from here. I think I can safely put the fire out now. I'll just throw the skin over. Great, the fire's out, though it now smells like a wild pig's marital sty in here. Now the fire's out, I can see the ladder rungs more clearly. They definitely lead up to the roof. The ladder rungs are still too hot to hold. The gloves should protect me from the heat, climbing up the chimney to steal people's treasured possessions. I'm like the anti-Santa, only trimmer. Luckily, I'm not afraid of heights. Or, as we've established, anything at all. Apart from our Garleys. And Kim, when she's in a huff. That must be the North Tower, where the Tula Society is storing its research. According to the inventory, that includes the Piri-Reis map. I'll try to get in through one of the windows. Okay, I've reached the North Tower, but I don't see any ancient research objects or artifacts. The inventory said the items are kept in the crypt. Thinking about it, this doesn't really look like a crypt to me. It must be one floor lower. I'll have to find a way down. A round stone slab with some kind of occult symbol. This slab's separate from the rest of the floor. I can see the seam running along the edges. That said, I can't lift it with my bare hands. The North Tower Crypt. This is where all the Tula Society's research objects are supposed to be held. I've got to get down there. It's locked. A massive chandelier. I can't reach it from here. This chain connects the chandelier to that crank. This crank lowers the old chandelier. They must have used it for lighting candles back in the day. Let's see if the crank handle still works. The chandelier is now lying in the center of the symbol on the floor. It's damn heavy. I ought to use the crank if I want to get it back up. Let's attack this thing. There, I've drilled a small hole. I've drilled a small hole into the stone slab. I'll take it down again. I'll unscrew the hook. A large threaded hook. I've screwed the hook into the drill hole. It's lodged pretty tight. I've screwed the hook into the drill hole. Fenton, you old dog, you've done it again. The chandelier's attached to the hook, which is screwed into the slab in the floor. When I turn the crank, the whole thing comes away. Shame there's nobody here to congratulate me. Ah, there's a cable here. Maybe I can climb down on it. Hopefully it'll take my weight. Looks like I'm in the right place, finally. Not that I'm complaining. I climbed down on this cable. Lucky it held my weight. It's locked, as you'd expect. There's a sort of dossier on this podium. I'll just skim it quickly. It outlines the Tula Society's central objectives. According to this, the Society was founded in the early 1920s with the aim of restoring the knowledge of lost civilizations for its own use. The Tula Society's influence extends into the highest echelons of the German Reich. This gives them complete carte blanche on their activities. They can do whatever the hell they like. Seems they launched a project codenamed Vril under the direction of our old friend, Countess von Hagenhild. The focus of this project is the search for Shambala. The Tula Society believes that a vast store of ancient knowledge is being hoarded there. The source of morphogenetic fields. Morphogenetic fields? Never heard of them. But then it does ring true with what Professor Hayes was talking about, a store of ancient knowledge. If I remember the professor's description correctly, the hunters and herders of Shambala suddenly developed into a flourishing and highly advanced society. Hayes reckons some sort of mysterious energy was responsible for the tribe's development. Is that what they mean by morphogenetic fields? The documents are under lock and key behind a thick sheet of glass. Not a good idea. I might trigger an alarm. Not a good idea. Must be more of the Tula Society's artifacts and research objects. It could take days to search all these boxes for the Piri-Reis map. These documents contain the research results of a scientist by the name of Ulrich von Hagenhild? Must be some relative of the Countess. Von Hagenhild spent his time searching for the world soul. Christ, can't these people just use sensible names? The basis for von Hagenhild's research was the concept that for an organism to develop as it should, there must be some immaterial power steering it in the right direction. Basically, an invisible blueprint determining form and growth. So, why does a rabbit develop the way it does? And why does a pine tree become a pine tree? Who's the architect? What tells them to grow bark? Or fancy lady rabbits? Looks like these questions led von Hagenhild to believe there was some invisible, imperceptible field that controls the development of an organism. He called it morphogenetics. Von Hagenhild explains the holistic aspect of self-organizing systems with his theory of morphogenetic fields. Basically, the field stores forms or behavioral patterns that every member of a species draws from and adds to. This was his Western take on something the East had known for some time. In Far Eastern philosophy, people refer to his morphogenetic fields as the divine essence of nature, or as the soul. He thought he'd identified the soul. He didn't think the soul was a spiritual thing. He thought it was a fundamental principle of nature that had been warped and confused by religions the world over. He even thought he had proof. He refers to certain experiments he carried out. Ugh. This is a lot of information to take in. Von Hagenhild really believed that in these morphogenetic fields, he'd identified the soul, the central power behind all living things. The documents are under lock and key behind a thick sheet of glass. These documents refer to several experiments which are supposed to prove the existence of morphogenetic fields. Von Hagenhild wanted to prove that every species obtains its entire being, its form, its instincts, from these fields, like some kind of collective memory. These inherited memories control not just the form, but also the behavior, the capabilities, and the knowledge of the relevant species. He called it a group soul. Experiment number 1, the rat experiment. The experiment investigated the capability of rats to find their way through a maze. At the beginning of the experiment, the rats needed 165 attempts before they could get through the maze without a mistake. But a few rat generations later, the number of attempts had dropped to 20. Conclusion. The first batch of rats learned how to navigate the maze, and this instinct was somehow added to the rats' group soul. When later rats navigated the maze, they somehow had access to this ancestral memory, even if the rats weren't directly related. Experiment number 2. The ape experiment. 2 ape colonies of the same species were isolated and observed on 2 small islands in the Indian Ocean. Von Hagenhild's team taught the apes on one island a few new behavioral patterns. The other colony was left undisturbed and uninfluenced, so while the apes on the first island are learning how to open tins and the like, the others are eating bananas. Several months later, the apes on the undisturbed island began displaying these new skills, even though they'd never come into contact with the other colony. Von Hagenhild's conclusion: all members of a species are connected by morphogenetic fields. They share a subconscious collective memory. He thought this theory could explain a lot. Animals' sense for impending danger, telepathy, sixth sense in humans. Von Hagenhild also concludes that members of a group can learn something new at a far quicker pace when the vast majority of members of that same group have already acquired the knowledge. These fields are basically stores of information that are effective across space, and in rare cases even time. Von Hagenhild presumes this would go some way towards explaining premonitions. Human beings sporadically accessing morphogenetic fields from varying points in the future. It all sounds very far-fetched, but then it does explain a lot. Supposing morphogenetic fields really exist, they'd be the answer to problems science has been trying to solve for centuries. And if all these fields add up, if there's some kind of central repository of all this information, Christ, it'd basically be the scientific definition of God. I'm beginning to understand why the Tula Society's quite so interested. And if there's even the slightest chance it's all true, why they need to be stopped. The documents are under lock and key. Is this the Piri Reis map? It's hand-drawn, ancient. There are some notes next to it. Finally, von Hagenhild became convinced that there must be a type of definitive field from which all other fields are derived. All manifestations have an origin. He tried to back this up with historical evidence. A world soul, for instance, had been proposed by Plato over 2,000 years ago. But what really convinced him was the discovery of an old, mysterious map of the world, drawn by the Ottoman general Piri Reis. I knew it! It's the map! Let's see. Further on in the text, von Hagenhild discovered that the general had drawn up the map in the 16th century, using sources which were thousands of years old. But how could they have known at that time what the world looked like? He posed the theory that a civilization had existed then, which possessed extraordinary knowledge and skill. He discovered a marking on the map, which was written in an unfamiliar language. Research in Far Eastern libraries revealed it was a long-forgotten Tibetan script. Once translated, it claimed the marking indicated the source of all knowledge, the center of the morphogenetic fields. It was a hidden valley in the Himalayas, Shambala. Shortly before he died in 1934, Von Hagenhild passed the responsibility of continuing the research onto his daughter. Professor Hayes was right. About everything. The Tula Society arrived at the exact same conclusion as he did. They were just one step ahead. Lucky I'm one step more. Richard used the first key to pass through the gate in that secret room in the monastery. I just need to find the second. The Nazis can't enter Shambala without it, and, as it happens, I have the eye, and I have the map. I just need to use them to find the location of the second key. My last hope of finding Richard is based on an ancient legend. Great. It's time to cross everything I've got. And I mean everything. The documents are under lock and key behind a thick sheet of glass. Fingers crossed. I've come all this way, but I'm still a little surprised it actually worked. The Piri Reis map really is the map of the Guardians of Shambala. Or at least it was drawn to their specifications. So Professor Hayes was also right in thinking the priests of Shambala took the second key artifact to India and hid it in a temple there. And now I know exactly where to look. On the Kathiawar Peninsula, just north of Bombay. Thinking about it, I actually know the commander of the British regiment in Rajkot. If the old drunkard hasn't been transferred for disciplinary reasons again, I'm sure he'll lend me a hand. Or at least a decent bottle. Then I'll just have to find the temple and get hold of the key artifact. What could be simpler?